Okay, so let's get situated here. I'm going to attempt to shoot a video showing the layout process when you're going to tool something. This is one of my rifle sling designs here, and hopefully everything stays in frame. If it doesn't, I won't upload it, but this is basic video for beginners that's just going to show how to set a piece of leather up for tooling. When I first started, I had no idea how to do it, and would have been helpful to have a video that I could see it, and I'm sure there's a bunch of videos out there that shows it, but I'm gonna do my own. So this point right here where this mark is, our bottom strap's going to be in here, and that's going to be tooling is going to be in this portion here, and I've transferred that little mark there to the back, because the first thing that we got to do here is we got to back this with some tape. There's other ways you can do it. You can back it with some rubber cement and cardboard. That works well too. Actually, if you get a little thicker cardboard, this is 8-9 ounce leather, so it's pretty thick already, but if you have some thinner leather, you put that cardboard on the back, it'll allow the impression to kind of go into the cardboard some, so that on thinner leather you can get an actual deeper impression. But we're not doing any of that today. We're just prepping this for work. If you got earphones on, this tape's probably going to be loud, so watch your ears. I let the tape hang over a little bit, especially if I've got a big pattern I'm going to lay right over the top of it, because you can stick the pattern down to it and the pattern won't move. But I like to do at least 2 layers. This is Scotch tape. I buy it at Sam's Club here. Get it wherever you want to get it, but my glass slicker, I use that to push this down. I'll give you another little tip. Before I started, I cleaned this top of this table, because I've got a small shop and I do pretty much everything. I mean, I do a lot of things here. I finish my edges here, and I'm using saddle soap, and that gets on the surface here, and you don't want to get that on your project, because if you do, it's going to affect your dyeing later on. But at least 2 layers of tape. If you have the stuff that's got the little strings in it, it has 0 stretch, you can probably get away with just one layer, but this tape's readily available to me, so that's what I use. Alright, so we're going to flip her over. We got our tape on, it's smashed down. That tape is, the whole purpose of the tape is to eliminate stretching, because when you get this wet and you start tooling, it starts pushing the leather out, and the whole thing is stretched. You can't believe how, if you didn't have any tape on this thing would probably be 1 inch longer when it was done, and wider, and it might go wonky in one area or another. You really need the tape. And then we're just going to use, this is plain water with just a little bit of, I'll put a little bit of mouthwash in it, because I mix up about 1/2 gallon at a time. And we're going to get it pretty wet. We're not going to get it soaking, dripping wet, but we are going to get it wet. Let that soak in, and you can see how that sets on the top. It takes just a second to go in. Kind of get used to how much. When it starts sitting on the top of the leather for just a minute or so, then you know you're about right. You can turn this up and you can see how far the water's kind of going into it. And I like to put a lot of moisture in it. Like I said, not dripping wet, but anyhow, now I take my glass slicker and I run that over it, and that really smooths out the surface. You don't have to do that, but it's something that I like to do. Now this particular rifle sling is going to have a deer at the top, and this is the deer we're going to use, and we're going to lay it out. I already know how this is going to be laid out, so on one that I'm doing a whole thing for, I would use a large piece like this. I'd trace out the pattern, and then I would draw it all in, and then I'd have the whole piece set over. But this is going to be, it's pretty basic. It's going to have a deer up top, initials down below. It's going to be filled in with some background tooling, with basket weave and some rope and other things like that. It's one of my standard slings I do that people order off the website. If you've never checked out the website, it's DannyCollinsCustomLeather.com. Honestly, it's not always on. I turn that off on occasion, and the reason is because I get so busy that I can't keep up with the orders. And I'm a one-man shop, so the only way that I can really do it is that when I get too busy is turn the website off. It's not ideal. May not be real professional. Some people kind of get irritated sometimes, I guess. They go, well, you were just open the other day, what's going on? I get emails all the time when it's closed. And anyways, it's how I have to do it. It's a good problem to have, just busy. So all you're going to do here is you're just tracing whatever it is that you've got. This is just your outline of where you're going to be making your cuts, and so we're going to have to run around this with a swivel knife. And I had people ask before, they go, what do you mean? New guys going, I'm having trouble, and come to find out they just didn't know about a swivel knife, and they weren't even using the swivel knife. Anyways, this is going to be real light right there. Put some nostril on there. It's going to fade into there. There's going to be a light mark there. Let's look and see what we got. Come across here. Pretty much that's it for the deer. Now we know that this is going to be the bottom, so what I'm going to do here is take my little ruler here, and I'm gonna 90 center. I just kind of eyeball it to center and put a light mark around there like that. I'm gonna come back with our tool here, and I'll put a mark around the edge. Don't normally like to recommend any specific thing, but the best ones of these that I bought is actually from Tandy, and they make it's a really good one. Don't go buy a Harbor Freight one; they're garbage. I've used some others from other places, and Tandy's their Pro line is really good. So anyways, buy it wherever you want, but that's where I get mine from. I do wear them out. It took me, the first time I wore one of these out, it took me about 8 years, but just from this going in and out, sliding across there, I did eventually wear these down, and it started in an area where I keep it all the time. The threads got wore out, so they will do that, but man, I got more than my fair share of use out of it. Anyways, we're gonna take that across like that. This particular sling requires, see, the body of the deer is going to drop into this piece of rope that we're going to design right here, so that we just created a top section where this deer is going to be, and then below that we're going to have some initials here, and then we're going to have a bottom section. Now let's see how on this particular sling, this is just some it's tracing paper with tracing film. I used to get this from, actually I think I got this from, you can get it from anywhere, Springfield, Tandy, all the suppliers are going to have it. Weaver's got it, Panhandle Leather, just a number of places got it. And we got some letters here, and I'm going to use these for this project. This was the font that they picked out, and it's a font that's on the website also. So we need JDJ is what the initials are going to be on this sling. You kind of line that, put a straight line so you can kind of line this up, get it centered, and then you take your pencil. I don't use a pen. I don't want to transfer any ink to my project and have it show up later on, something I got to deal with. And okay, we still do have some lead left. Too heavy-handed for this. Must be Chinese lead. If you're Chinese and watching, I'm sorry if I offended you, but you know, aren't exactly known for making quality stuff. But that's neither here nor there. I'll quit talking about that. All right, so we'll put a J on here. Trying to get them lined up where they need to be here. It doesn't matter what you're tracing. It's done the same way, whether or not it's initials or you're tracing something else, a brand, an animal. It doesn't matter what it is, a tree. It doesn't matter what you're tracing. I mean, you're going to do it the same way. You're going to, it's like tracing anything else, you know. And then we're just going to kind of make sure that we're centered here. Kind of put a center mark on there. Just want to make sure that gets centered. Split that 2.5, quarter. Line light. It's a very light line. You don't want that line showing later on. And you just line your piece up here. Hopefully my big head's not getting in the way of the video. So we're lined up. You run back around it. I don't have my braces on today. Get around this D and the J. There's that. Well, that's transferred. Now, all we're going to do is we're going to separate off that section. Again, this is part of the design. You don't have to do this. Just whatever your design is. I'm just basically just trying to show you how to lay your pattern out onto the workpiece. And that's going to be that for that part of it. But what we're going to do now is we're going to take a swivel knife, start it out with, this is just a strop, leather with a little bit of polishing compound, green buffing compound on it. And this is ceramic blade, cheap Tandy swivel knife. I like to use this one for long, when I'm running around long straight pieces. I don't know why, I just kind of, it's one I always use when I'm doing long straight stuff. This here. And you're not trying to cut all the way through the leather, but you're making a pretty deep cut. It's probably close to about halfway there, I would think. And basically, you're going to run around with a swivel knife, just like that. Now this one, people's heads are going to explode when they see this. I was taking class one time and I broke out my swivel knife that I use, and the instructor wasn't very impressed, because this is an 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch, angle blade, filigree blade. So normally people would use this for cutting out filigree, but I use it for all my swivel knife stuff. Now I can't make corners, my hands are messed up. You can see by how beat up they are. I work with my hands more than just in the leather shop. Years in construction, my hands are beat up, so I can't really turn this swivel knife the way that I would like to. But I end up picking up and setting it back down more often than maybe I should, but it don't seem to affect anything. But, just run your swivel knife, follow the lines. Really not much to it. The leather's nice and damp. If you try to do this when the leather's too dry, then you're gonna have problems. It'll be really hard to cut. Wet leather is always easier to cut. We've got our letters done. Let's come up here to the deer. Cut in. Sometimes I might extend a line or shorten a line or whatever when I'm doing this, but I've done about a gazillion of these. Ear here, there. Let's see. A little bit on that eye. Come around the nose. that. And those lines won't get anything. Those are just reference lines, and they'll be I'll use them to put in contours into it. And now I could tool this and it'll come out fine. I like to let them set in a bag overnight, and that it makes an incredible difference when you're tooling them. If you let them case in a bag overnight, as long as you got a little bit of mouthwash in your water, you're never gonna have a problem with mold. But honestly, I've never had a problem with mold with just plain water. But just as a precaution, I put a little bit of mouthwash in there, and that's it. So that's laid out. We're all cut in, and that's how you would do it. And you let this case wrapped up in a plastic bag, tight so the moisture can't escape. And what's going to happen is this water, the moisture in it, is going to equalize in the leather. And once you pull it out, you'll have a good little bit that you can tool. I can get through the whole thing no problem without having to wet it again. Sometimes if you don't get enough moisture in it originally, then you may have to put a little bit of moisture back in it when you take it out of the bag the next day. I've also left them in the bag for days. Just depends. But the properly cased leather makes a big difference in your tooling. It just looks a lot better. That even moisture in there. You get crisper lines. But anyways, that's just a short video showing you how to lay one out and cut it in with a swivel knife and get it prepped and ready for tooling. And I probably won't film the tooling on this one. I will eventually film some tooling. But I just wanted to give you the basics on how to lay this out. Right now I'm just trying to do some basics videos. I released one video on doing belt keepers, and on descaling rattlesnake, and there may be a couple other ones on there. They're finishing edges. I wasn't really happy with that video. I'll probably try to do a better video on that, but it does show you the basics on how to do your edges without you don't need a bunch of gimmicky edge slicking stuff. You just don't need any of that. I mean, it's no offense to anyone telling it. If you want to use it, but you really don't need it. Just elbow grease, water, little saddle soap, and you're good to go on your edges. But you have to do it in the right order, so you don't want saddle, like I said earlier in this video, you don't want to get saddle soap or anywhere on your project, otherwise it'll block the dye and you'll have a problem. But anyways, just wanted to show this to you, and y'all have a great day.